This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.
Well, hello YouTube family. It's me, Miss Dana Ashley. Happy New Year. It's 2020. Can you believe it? I still haven't quite accepted it yet. It has been way too long. I have missed you guys so much. No excuses here. Some of you are like, what's going on? Are you alive? I'm so sorry. Besides my move and subsequent remodel, lost my motherboard. Second time making this video. Fun. I've had many weeks of 2 and 3 feet of snow. No water or power for days. No, I won't be drinking this, but I will be flushing the toilet with it. There is a downside to A-frames. Whoa! I don't know if you heard that, but that's what it sounds like when the roof snow falls off. And Roscoe keeps asking me to go out. Let's see what he does. You ain't gonna get far, I can tell you that. That is salt. You look dirty out here, Roscoe. Did you change your mind? He changed his mind. What else? Oh yeah, there was that dental emergency that took me to Tijuana. But long story short, that somewhat traumatic experience wound up bringing me to some really awesome information that I'm really excited to share with you today. And I want to share this because it's exposing a super common American medical practice that is potentially impacting the health of a very large portion of Americans, because somewhere between 40 and 60% of people are dealing with this in their bodies right now. And I'm going to share with you in this video many examples about how this practice has impacted myself and people I care about. So I want to shine a light on this so that any of you, and odds are if not you, definitely someone you know and love, is dealing with probably incredibly negative ramifications from this and just has no idea. And that is putting one of the most toxic substances known to man, sounds like a really bad idea, right, into the teeth of human beings, adults as well as children. And that substance is mercury. Now, for those of you who don't realize, amalgam fillings, those silvery looking fillings that they call silver fillings, even though silver isn't the majority of their makeup, instead, in this amalgam, what you will find as a majority of the makeup is 50% mercury. Yeah, that stuff your mama told you never to play with in case you broke the thermometer. There's a good reason they don't make those thermometers much anymore. Instead, they just tell you to put it in your teeth. Now, your dentist was taught by the ADA that amalgams are safe. They believe that when mercury is mixed with other components that make up the filling, like tin, copper, and yeah, some silver, that this creates a stable compound that binds the mercury. So the issue is not for them whether or not amalgam is toxic. They admit that it is.
Is mercury toxic?
Elemental mercury is toxic.
Is mercury toxic?
Elemental mercury is toxic.
Is mercury, would you answer my question, is mercury toxic?
I'm trying to give you a correct answer.
Yes, no.
Yes.
Thank you. Silver amalgam fillings, does it contain mercury?
It does.
Yes. Almost up to 50%?
Yes.
But it is whether or not the mercury in the amalgams is able to escape into the body to contribute to or cause illness. That is a point of contention, and that's what we're going to get into proving here today. Now, on that point of whether or not mercury can do what dentists say it can't, escape into the body, check this out. Professor Fritz Leuscheider, professor of physiology and biophysics at the University of Calgary, carried out over 20 years of study into the effects of mercury released from dental amalgam. He completed one study where he placed 4 mercury amalgam fillings into the teeth of sheep that had special dye so that they could see it in x-rays. Now, in the picture below from the study, you can clearly see the sites where the mercury had amassed. Dr. Leuscheider brought attention to the fact that mercury is not a solid alloy, and most of you probably already remember from high school that mercury is the only metal that is moving freely at room temperature. But few realize the also common scientific knowledge is that mercury sublimates, which means that it is able to transition directly into a gas, much like dry ice can turn directly into carbon dioxide without turning into liquid first.
When the mercury vapor, which is not reactive, is breathed into your body, it goes through your lungs, gets into your lung cells, into your blood cells. The blood transfers it around the body. It's the easiest mercury to get into the brain. So mercury from amalgam, even though they say it's a vaporous gas, it's the most absorbed, and then it's converted by the body into an oxidized form that's very, very toxic. And when it gets into the cells that make up the blood-brain barrier, when mercury hits them, they become leaky. And this is the work of Dr. Perinotti at Ohio State University. He's shown this very carefully, that methylmercury, the aerosol that's found in vaccines, and inorganic mercury causes these membranes to become leaky and break down. And this is what we see in a lot of disease states. Whenever these membranes are leaky, things can get into that location that shouldn't be there. Your immune system reacts to it, and that's what we call the inflammation and the oxidative stress that's built up. And when you have that situation, the neurons start dying.
So Dr. Leuscheider proposed and proved that mercury will release vapors under friction or heat, like chewing or drinking a hot drink. When his studies conducted on sheep and monkeys were fitted with this amalgam, they showed these significant deposits of mercury not only in the jawbone, but in the brain, gut, liver, and kidneys after only 4 weeks of chewing. Now, to help illustrate how mercury can so easily turn into vapor in another experiment, and you'll remember this video forever after you see it. It always stuck with me, and it's what caused me to want to get mine out. Here you can see an extracted molar with typical amalgam filling in it. Now, this special screen allows you to see this mercury vapor with only simple friction. And here you can see how heavily the mercury vapor escapes with low temperature warming, like when you have tea or coffee. Now, all this might not be so disturbing if the University of Calgary did not also back a study that showed up close and personal what happens to a brain cell when it comes across a very minuscule amount of mercury. That looks a little scary. Isn't it interesting that those brain cells look very much like the damage seen in the brains of those with Alzheimer's and MS patients? Now, the proponents of amalgam argue that if there were a significant problem with mercury toxicity escaping, that it would be of epidemic proportions. Well, on that topic, got allergies? Get in line. How about problem sleeping? Or let me guess, depression and anxiety? Guys, I have a very good friend who's a medical doctor in Los Angeles. She works at a free clinic because her heart is huge and she wants to help people. She confided in me that she could not believe the number of children that were suffering with severe depression and anxiety. Kiddos. Kiddos, it breaks my heart. This definitely can be caused by mercury exposure. Or how about fatigue? So many people just feel like they don't get enough sleep even after they've had over 8 hours a night. This can all be attributed to toxicity. How about arthritis? It's happening to even the very young. My stepmother in her 30s and 20s suffered greatly. We found out it was due to her amalgam. So again, I would say the fact that 60% of our children in America are dealing with autoimmune issues like asthma, allergies, and so much more. There is an epidemic going on here. No one is talking about it, and it is one of the autoimmune variety. And I'm here to suggest that heavy metals like mercury and also aluminum are the root issue that needs to be done away with. And one startling fact about mercury exposure is just how many different ways it can impact you.
If I put this list in my description box, it'll probably get hit harder, so slow this down to take a look at it if you're interested in looking at all the potential side effects of mercury.
And even though the ADA hasn't done any long-term studies, mercury itself has been studied, and so we already know that mercury attacks the nervous system. If you think about the nervous system, it contains the brain, and the brain controls, well, everything. And so it shouldn't be surprising in some sense that it can cause such a wide range of symptomology. So when I start rattling off all these things it can cause, just understand that there is a good reason.
I've been suffering from numerous autoimmune and mystery illnesses for many years. Most recently, I've been managing symptoms of fibromyalgia, ADHD, peripheral neuropathy, chronic fatigue, celiac disease, in addition to 81 other food allergies. I was vomiting every day for months. I also struggle with embarrassing and debilitating symptoms including agoraphobia, chronic staph infections on my face, untriggered panic attacks, heart palpitations, vision disturbances, ringing in my ears, facial numbness and twitching, slurred speech, uncoordinated movements, and a short-term memory loss that was so severe I would have trouble finishing my sentences.
And in fact, the widespread and plethora of different symptomology is in part why they've gotten away with this atrocity for so long. So if you're dealing with an ingestion of a terribly toxic substance, it's going to impair the immune system, like poisons do. But each person is going to have a different weak link within their immune system that suffers first.
In January of 2010, I was diagnosed with mercury poisoning, and at the recommendation of my primary care physician, decided to have the only mercury-emitting device, my silver fillings, removed from my body. I started oral chelation with DMPS and ALA shortly thereafter and have experienced a continuous and measurable improvement in my health as a result.
And these differences are also going to be exacerbated by the fact that the act of excreting heavy metals itself, being able to get rid of this stuff in the human body, has a genetic component. So some people have a predisposition to inadequately get rid of these metals. So two people can have two fillings, even on the same teeth, that one person can get a crazy bad reaction and one person may not. But it doesn't change the fact that mercury is still having impact, possibly accumulating in some sense, and can even cause problems down the road. It could just take a lot longer for some people than others. And a quick note, back on the topic of those sky streaks out there that I did my last video on, it has already been admitted that geothermal engineering is real and being used. Now, the aluminum is the #1 ingredient that we're all being exposed to because of that. What we know about aluminum is that it impairs your body's ability to excrete mercury by impeding your glutathione production. Yikes. So when you see those sky streaks out there, know that at least one major problem with this substance and program is that it can take the already bad mercury that many of us are dealing with and make it much more of a problem by not being able to get it out. Just know that we're going to talk solutions in this video, so try not to let the topic get you down too much before you understand what we can do about it. But first, let's get deeper into this and explore whether or not you or someone you may love may be dealing with the impacts of mercury. Right off the bat, it is well known that mercury has the greatest impacts on your nervous system, your heart, and your kidneys. Now, deeper study reveals that metal toxicity from mercury can cause a wide range of emotional issues. And this is what I really want to get deep into because people have no idea. Rage, bipolar issues, ADD, even more subtle issues, just like irritability, bad moods that are pretty constant, not seeing the good in things, low self-esteem, even shyness. You may think as a parent, why is my kid not grateful? Well, it could be that they're simply dealing with a toxic overload that just simply makes it hard to feel well. Some of the testimonials I've seen, they talk about when they get these amalgams out and they're just like suddenly singing, or they want to dance again, or they can't wait to read a new book. The little things in life. That's what makes this so tragic, is it's literally ripping the joy out of people's lives. I wanted to have a couple of these little testimonials here so you can see a little bit of difference. These women had many physical and emotional problems that they were dealing with for years, in some cases most of their adult life. And then after this holistic dentist who specializes in proper amalgam removal took out their amalgams, he asked them to explain what kind of changes they had experienced.
My name's Diane Jones. I had a lot of mercury fillings put in from a very early age, and I didn't realise how much it affected me. I just knew that I've just felt ill most of my life. The biggest illness has been depression, along with anxiety and nervousness and not sleeping, panic attacks, not being able to go out, and at times being suicidal. I did attempt suicide when I was 16 and not really knowing what the problems were.
Well, I was fatigued, and I had headaches, and as I said, depression, and I had problems with my stomach for about 7 years, and had treatments, all kind of treatments, investigations, and nothing helped.
And the doctors have tried treating me, have tried antidepressants, but they didn't really work, and I didn't like taking them, so I've gone along the alternative therapy route, which has helped. But depression has been a big part of my life.
I was giving different kind of medications and nothing helped, nothing stopped the symptoms. I had symptoms all the way since 93 until a few months ago. It has improved about 90%, I would say. All my problems, all physically and psychologically, that I've suffered from, improved, I would say, about 90 to 95%.
And now I don't feel depressed, anxious, nervous, sleeping better, no panic attacks, I'm happy, I feel like a whole person and my life to look forward to, and I just feel really happy.
Now I feel so much better. I mean, my moods are better. I could control my moods. I wouldn't have the depression that I had before without a cause. I mean, everybody has depression. I mean, if you have a problem, whatever, I feel sort of love for life or appetite for life, which I didn't have before. Sometimes I feel like a child. I'm so excited about very small things, which it amazes me, but I'm so glad to feel this way.
So am I.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did you ever wonder why the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland was mad? In the 19th century, felt hats were the baseball caps of their day. Actually, they were even more popular than baseball caps because almost all the men wore them. So when the hatters were working with the animal skins to make these hats, part of the process is in order to stiffen them, they would use a mercury compound. This exposure to the mercury from the hatters wound up giving them all kinds of adverse reactions. Besides tremors, mental confusion, they became notoriously known to be very emotionally unstable, anxious, depressed, terribly angry, irrational, or just plain crazy. Mad as a hatter. Now, I found a very interesting video on YouTube where this woman was analyzing the Mad Hatter character in the more recent Alice in Wonderland movie. And she was accurately describing this character as one with all of the traits of borderline personality disorder. Now, in my own life, I had a relationship with someone with BPD, And it is a literal roller coaster of emotion with these people. Now, if you're not familiar with BPD, these people experience intense anger, anxiety, fear. They have a lot of times have a very deep fear of abandonment in their relationships. They have deep intolerance with others. They'll have sudden shifts in their perceptions of others. Like they can have you way up on a pedestal in 1 minute and then just knock you down the next minute. And in my opinion, these people feel these negative feelings so much more than normal people. And because of this intensity, they may partake in self-mutilation or attempts of suicide. Now, in the case of my friend, I can confidently say that he suffered with mercury toxicity. And because I'm a health nerd, I was already trying to figure out, why did he have so many autoimmune issues like terrible life-threatening asthma, really bad allergies, along with these emotional issues. And through our many conversations, I discovered not only did he have 6 amalgams in his mouth, but he also had huge rounds of VACCINES as a young adult prior to heading over to the Middle East in the military. Not long after these rounds of these shots, his asthma became way more severe. He added allergies into the mix, and these emotional problems started increasing significantly. All 3 of these things, I believe confidently, can be attributed to the mercury toxicity. So when I realized he had these amalgam fillings and that he was having this constant exposure of mercury, I advised him to get them removed. And to his credit, he trusted my opinion and he did it. And within the year, I found out later, not only did his asthma improve greatly, just to give you an idea, he would get so sick once a year that he would wind up going to the hospital nearing death. Okay? He had a nebulizer at home. He already had like some of the tools at home that normal hospitals would use, but this was beyond that. It was so bad. He had a lot of debt due to emergency trips and ambulances, just terrible. But anyway, after I spoke with him, I found out he no longer had these deep sicknesses or near-death sort of experiences through asthma as well. His allergies had gotten better, and I also found out he had much less symptomology in the way of BPD in his current relationship. Wow, right? I mean, I want to tell you guys these kind of anecdotal stories because they're just so impactful and they just tell really the picture of what is really happening here. So many people are dealing with physical symptoms, diseases, emotional conditions that are labeled this or that, and they just accept it. It's just something you have to deal with. What I'm trying to encourage you to do here is to look deeper into what could be the root cause, these heavy metals and their impacts on all of our lives. And another point, backing up, why would we be having more trouble with heavy metals now? And that again, if you haven't seen my wireless radiation video, is because these frequencies from microwaves, Wi-Fi, and all of these microwave frequencies that we're all being exponentially bombarded with have been increasing greatly in the last 10 years. So the metal that we maybe always have had is having more impact now because it interacts with these frequencies. Again, to give you a little analogy, in the 80s we had boom boxes, okay? There was a little metal antenna we would have to pull out to what? To capture radio waves. In the same way, this metal in our bodies is capturing. We're like an antenna for these frequencies. So this is another reason why it's very important to get these metals out. It's going to be less likely for you to have, negative interactions with these frequencies that are all around us. But getting back to the mercury exposure via dentistry, I think the reason that the mercury upsets me so much is just because it's so absurd. When you just take a little bit of time to think about it. Just please explain this to me. A dentist knows that once they remove a silver filling, a mercury filling, from the patient, okay, even if they remove the whole tooth, they are not allowed to put that into the trash because it is dangerous for the environment.
Well, this is kind of ironic. The EPA is considering new rules on how dentists should handle the rinse water when they either use mercury or remove it from patients. Dr. McKenzie showed us her state-of-the-art system to trap mercury particles before they get into the sewer.
This is so bizarre. So it'll float in your mouth for a while, but watch the wastewater.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a problem here.
Yep.
Appreciate that, Jim.
Yes, that's right. Here's an example to prove what I'm saying here. This is from a video for safe dentistry practices. It informs dentists that even the pre-measured capsules that once held the amalgam, after they're empty, cannot be tossed into the trash, but have to be processed as toxic waste.
Amalgam capsules can be purchased in units of 1, 2, or 3 spills, a term given to a fixed amount of mercury. Empty capsules, even those that appear to be clean, can retain small amounts of mercury. Such capsules may fail testing and be classified as hazardous waste. All should be recycled for their mercury content or be disposed of as hazardous waste.
So they're required by the EPA to put it in a hazardous waste container and pay money for its disposal. But they can put it in the soft tissue of your head next to your brain? Really? Come on. There's even legislation that is looking at crematoriums right now. That's, where they burn people who've passed, to remove the teeth from the dead because they know that once that is released into the environment, it's dangerous to everyone else. So you may be thinking, oh, but Dana, how could the ADA allow something that was knowingly toxic to be put into not only patients, but the dentists and lab assistants that they deal with it all day, that they are charged to protect? Well, I'm going to forego all the gory details about how corrupt and negligent the ADA and FDA have been on this particular issue. There are actually a lot of documentaries already out there that go into that really in depth, but I'm just going to drop this one little jewel of a conflict of interest. The ADA says this: dental amalgam is considered a safe, affordable, and durable material. But then the ADA also said the American Dental Association owes no legal duty of care to protect the public from allegedly dangerous products used by dentists. The ADA did not manufacture, design, supply, or install the mercury-containing amalgams. The ADA does not control those who do. The ADA's only alleged involvement in the product was to provide information regarding its use. Oh, well, isn't that sweet of them? The Superior Court of the State of California, that was taken out of a case that happened in 1992. So, with this phrase, did not install. Looks like the ADA is doing its best to leave their dentists holding the bag for blame. They say their only alleged involvement is to explain how to use it. Is that true, ADA? Did you know that there are actual patents issued on dental amalgam? Yep. Dated from March 77 and April 78. And can you guess who held those patents? I'll give you one guess. Yeah. The American Dental Association. The ADA held 2 patents on mercury amalgam fillings, published usage guidelines for dentists, had financial ties to the manufacturers, so they profited from its use. Does that make more sense now why they also muzzled dental students who objected to the toxicity of the material? Or why they might threaten to delicense dentists who would not install the mercury fillings? Yeah. One of my mom's favorite cousins, Cousin Johnny, I called him Uncle, but he was our dentist as kids. And I recall clearly not only the laughing gas from the Mickey Mouse nose that he put on me and the audible tracers that I heard. That's a whole nother story. But I also remember him being incredibly flippant about the exposure to amalgam. So much so that I can actually remember him using his bare finger to push it up into my cavities. Very sadly, he died of leukemia in his mid-40s. He commented to my mom one time after he came down with leukemia about him thinking it was so odd that there were so many dentists from his graduating class who also got leukemia. Yet he never put it together that the toxicity of mercury was the cause. He obviously believed what he was taught in dentist training, that amalgam was safe. He was a good man. And it's very, very sad that he didn't get to grow old with his family who loved him very much. So besides the emotional problems, besides the autoimmune diseases and conditions, besides the attacks on the nervous system and the issues with liver, heart, and kidneys, another really great impact that very few people know about is its impact on reproductive health. While doctors will routinely advise pregnant women not to consume too much fish, they will make no mention of avoidance of dental amalgams with their 50% mercury directly into their bodies. And I'd like to note for the record, there used to be tons, and I mean tons, of testimonial videos from devastated mothers who were trying to inform other mothers that they lost their baby after a flu shot. And for those of you who do not realize, flu shots contain 25 micrograms of mercury right now. But all of these search results that used to pop up, they're not there anymore. This content seems to be completely washed from not only YouTube and Google, but sites like DuckDuckGo. And sadly, in its place, even if you say, my baby died from a flu shot, you put in any of those kind of search terms, you're going to get nothing but pro-flu shot propaganda. This upsets me deeply. So they're not only allowing it to be put into mothers, they're practically begging for pregnant women to go out and get this shot. But of course, no good population calling program would be complete without reproductive issues. Here's one quick example I did find that reflects this type of testimony.
I was 6.5 months pregnant with twins and a boy and a girl. I went in for a routine exam, and at the end of the exam, as I was about to leave, my doctor said, I really would like you to stop by the nurse's station and get a flu shot. I told him that I was not comfortable getting the shot. I didn't want to get it. And he was very adamant, and even went as far as to say that he thought I was being selfish. Against my better judgment, I went ahead and let them give me the shot. Within, I would say 5 to 6 hours after the shot, I started getting severe cramps and bleeding, and I knew something was very terribly wrong. And I immediately went back to the hospital where my doctor was, and he said, "You are having a miscarriage." I lost my son, and my daughter ended up at 18 months diagnosed with severe autism. She regressed in my womb. My doctor was so horrified by what happened. He said, "I'm not giving any more flu shots to pregnant women." I had her baby teeth analyzed, and baby teeth form in the womb. They come out later, but they form in the womb. Her baby teeth had tons of mercury in them.
Now, oftentimes, the women who do get the flu shot are going to have a higher chance of having this kind of thing happen if they have that amalgam on top. Because remember, it's a toxin that accumulates, and it's also going to accumulate inside that little body inside of you. Because another little anecdotal story to support this, one holistic dentist I found explains how the first thing he did for his dental assistants was to remove their amalgam filling safely, and how on several occasions these women became spontaneously pregnant, and they were shocked because they were convinced that they were barren or unable to conceive. I'll try to link some of those testimony videos below. So I'm also going to include below one of the most genuine and passionate pleas for awareness around amalgam that came from a news anchor named Stacy Case and her testimony to the FDA.
So I decided after much thought and prayer to make myself the lab rat. What did I have to lose? I had my fillings removed using the IAONT guidelines, the only safe method. Within a week, wouldn't you know it, I was 50% better. My body was calming down.
Now, during one routine dental trip, her dentist told her that her amalgams were expiring and they needed to be redone. Since white fillings were not covered by insurance, only the mercury ones, she had 4 silver fillings replaced with the same and described a plummet into the depths of sickness that few can imagine. She was, within a very short time, unable to walk and diagnosed with MS. She knew too well that the timing of her fillings seemed to be the impetus and was able to have them safely replaced and went through a grueling and expensive mercury detox program and today is 100% recovered from MS, something that doctors say could not be done. So when I saw this Stacy Case testimony again, and I noticed that she mentioned blindness and blurry vision as a part of her mercury exposure. And then when I was researching this video again, and I saw in a list of potential symptomology of mercury exposure, nearsightedness and farsightedness, my mind just started spinning. See, because I'm nearsighted and my baby sister is nearsighted, I immediately got on the phone and I started talking to my family about when did this happen, when did that happen. And here's what I can tell you, okay? This is anecdotal. Do with it what you will. But I have 2 sisters. We're all very close in age. My mother had some amalgams when I was born. And it is known within that community, it's almost like a sick joke. Like, how does a woman get rid of mercury? Have a baby, okay? It's well known that the baby will take a big part of the accumulative load away from the mother. So I have this initial load as a baby being born. And then when I got that handful of mercury fillings all in one go, at around the age of 10, I suddenly turn around and I'm nearsighted within 1 month. I kid you not. Now, then my middle sister is born. She has no nearsightedness, no fillings. Okay? Then while my mom is pregnant with my third sister, she said her teeth started to go bad. And so she went in and got 4 new mercury fillings. Well, what do you know? Not only does my third sister also become nearsighted after her rounds of fillings a couple years after me, so that's 2 confirmations of quick nearsightedness after fillings, but she is the only one of all 3 of us who has suffered greatly and deeply with depression her entire life since high school. She's been on and off meds. She just has very deep sadness and just an outlook that is just not happy, you know? So when I was learning about this nearsightedness thing, I contacted her and I was thinking those amalgams were long gone, but no, she still has them in her head today. I was in shock. I couldn't even believe it, but yet I can believe it because that would make total sense as to why she's been dealing with depression her whole life. And I haven't, because mine have been gone for decades now, right? So I'm excited now to inform her about this potential causal agent and get her on board with getting them out. Maybe this is all coincidence, but what if it's not? I just had to share this with you. Guarantee you that there are going to be some comments in this video and people are going to be confirming what I'm saying. Not that again, that's more anecdotal proof, but sometimes that's all we've got because this other information has just simply been suppressed. You go and look at videos like some of these ADA expose videos on mercury, you're going to see comments all over the place that look like this one. Hello, I have 2 silver fillings. About 2 years ago, a dentist drilled over the top of them and put white filling over top without even removing them. Ever since then, I have had multiple health problems. 2 miscarriages, serious brain fog, hives, lupus-like symptoms, found out that I now have H. pylori, joint pain, my excretory IgA is low, tons of random allergic reactions that I've never had before, and many other problems. Blah, blah, blah. Like, guys, these are people a lot of times will go their whole lives. They'll either not ever find out or they'll find out and then they're on a mission to get rid of the mercury, which is why I'm talking to you guys today. Guys, I can't help but share all this with you because I just find it incredible. So many issues are explainable by something so common. So let's start talking solutions here, right? One thing you have to realize, and please, if you don't hear anything else I say, hear this. You cannot simply go to a normal dentist and have them take these out. You're going to risk great acute exposure to mercury because these dentists just don't know. They are not taking precautions against it. It's going to dump a huge level amount of it into your blood, and that, depending on where you are with your cumulative load, could turn out really bad. Removing the mercury fillings from the most important part of our body, our head, is one step, a very important step. Here's what you need to know. This is what a dentist should look like when taking out amalgam. See the fan? See the dental dam that is covering all of the rest of the mouth? And when my dentist took mine out, he seriously looked like he was headed for work in a nuclear power plant. No joke. And that's because they've been trained to understand how toxic this stuff is, and they are just simply reasonably protecting themselves. So It's better to wait until you can get it safely removed than to have it removed by an inexperienced dentist. In the past, I've recommended the only certified group to adhere to the safe principles I mentioned, which is the IAOMT group of dentists. I've mentioned that a couple times in different videos. But the downside is that in America, they can be very, very expensive. And you know, guys, it just really upsets me to have to tell people that. It makes me sad that in order to be well, we have to invest so much money, and a lot of people just simply don't have it. But the reason I decided to do this video now is because I recently found out that there is a clinic in Mexico, in my case, very close to me, during my tooth debacle. I took a 2-hour drive down there. This place is incredibly high quality and so affordable, I could not even believe it. In fact, I'm like talking to people in the lobby, like, how long have you been coming here? Do you love it? Do you love it? Where are you from? Blah, blah. People were there from all over the United States and from other countries, in fact, because even with factoring in the plane fare, it was still way less expensive than going to a normal dentist. Again, I mentioned I had a tooth problem. I do not like going to the dentist. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I put off the dental work too long. After having this tooth go out, they gave me a quote of like $1,800 for one tooth. I already spent hundreds of dollars on 2 trips where we did basically nothing. It just wasn't something I could do. So a good friend recommended this holistic dentist in Tijuana, which sounds really scary due to all the stories we've heard about it. But that's where I wound up going, and it was amazing. And although I went to get my teeth worked on just generally and not amalgam, I found out this group does the amalgam removal in a way that follows the most prestigious holistic method that teaches no metals at all in the human body, and dentistry particularly called the Huggins protocols. So Mr. Huggins suggested that to put metal in the mouth will interfere with the very specific natural electromagnetic field of the human body, which makes sense based on everything else I've talked to you in the other videos and what we discussed earlier. So at this clinic, they can measure the disturbances to your natural fields due to whatever metals you may currently have in your teeth, even after you get the mercury out, to see what kind of electromagnetic fields may be altering your health. Even though I was kind of scared to go to Tijuana, I had to go by myself because I didn't have anybody that was free to go with me, that wasn't working or whatever. But I found a lot of testimonial videos of people like, oh, it's so easy. This clinic is so amazing. They'll even come pick you up at the airport or meet you at the border. And because I just drove down and I didn't want to fight the long line coming back, that's what I did. And I just walked across the border. I may include a little bit of the footage here. So I guess this is it. Nobody's in line. Here we go. These cameras. If you guys want to see a video just on that, I will do it. I did film while I was out there, but I just really wanted to get to the crux of what I wanted to tell you about this clinic for, is because they can safely remove your amalgam at much less cost than anyone in the United States. As an example, they gave me a vitamin C drip during my procedure. A vitamin C drip is going to greatly reduce the inflammation. It's going to shorten your recovery time of any work that you get done. Now, I've heard of naturopaths in America doing the vitamin C drip, but I've never heard of a dentist doing that. Then they also did this procedure where they took a little bit of my blood and then they spin it, and then they pull out the super dense white blood cell plasma, and then they take that packet and then they put it into the tooth being worked on. Now, this technique exponentially increases circulation to the area to ensure the best healing and recovery. Now, I've had a tooth pulled before, and my recovery time was a fraction of the time. In fact, that's what made me scared of dentists, is getting my wisdom teeth taken out in high school. It wrecked me. I was up bouncing around the next day. I kid you not. So again, everyone's a little different, but what was really mind-blowing about this procedure was that I did a little research when I got back, and I found out that this technique of putting this plasma pocket into your teeth while they're working on it, in California, it runs $800 per tooth. Yeah, I paid $100, just to give you an example of the difference of cost. Overall, you're looking at about a third of the price for everything that you get done at this clinic. So not only is it like apples to apples going to a pretty good dentist in America and a pretty good dentist in Tijuana. No, it's going to a pretty good dentist in America compared to a stellar dentist that does things that most dentists don't even know exist in America. There are several online videos about cheaper... Dang it. Okay. So, there are several videos online about cheaper healthcare options, including dentistry in Mexico.
Brent Williams has been coming here from his home in Las Vegas for the past 4 years.
The price is unbelievable. What it costs me up there for an exam, I can have a crown done down here. And we just come down, spend the night, eat dinner at one of the local places, and have our teeth done and drive back to Vegas.
We have patients every day, all year long. What amazes me is people from all the way from Paris will come to see us. Paris, New York, Africa, you name it.
And as patients arrive from across the globe, practitioners from across Mexico who come for the high season will be waiting for them. Alistair Baverstock, TRT World, Los Algodones.
And there is no shortage of people sharing their Mexico dental trips on YouTube. Now, most people are emphasizing the incredible cost difference of high quality dental work compared to America, their prices being about the third, like I said. But still, I had no idea all this time living so close to Mexico, this was such an affordable and high quality solution, or I would not have waited to go so long. So I'm going to include the name of the clinic in the description box below. If you tell them that Dana sent you and you ask for the person that I list down there, they'll totally take care of you. And I think you'll be very pleased at a fraction of the cost. I know for some of you still, it's not a terribly affordable solution to have to be able to fly somewhere. But if you're down here in the Southwest, I think it's worth a trip. Because another thing is that they actually get a lot of work done in a very short time. I noticed here they'll do one little thing and they'll charge you an office visit and then work, and then they'll schedule you again and you come back and you do another little thing. At this place, they literally get as much done because a lot of people are coming from all over the world and they know that. And so they'll actually get a lot of work done in a short period of time. Obviously, this clinic is not the only one that exists. If you want to find a place that may be even cheaper or isn't doing the holistic thing so much, you could probably find a place that's even cheaper. But this is the one that I want to advocate because I've been there myself. I've met the people. They're incredibly gracious and nice. I did not feel judged or looked down on like I do at a lot of, I hate to say it, but a lot of American doctors' offices. It's just kind of a different vibe altogether. I really hope that this helps you. I'm definitely going to be including some other videos about other things you do once you get the mercury out, like how to start pulling some of this mercury out of the body. I'll probably include a few links of different substances that I am taking as a part of my optimal health plan. But yeah, I think that's it. That's a long-winded story to tell you something so simple, but I really wanted everyone to understand why they may need to get this done and how much difference in your life that it could make. So I love you guys. I hope that you're well. I hope to see you again much sooner than the gap last time. God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.